Well, Arnie, thank you so much for taking the time today and joining me for this is kind of actually my second podcast with Mo Engage. We will be talking, about how our companies and go-to-market strategies really changing in this time of crisis. I saw you post on LinkedIn, which was, I think, very, very timely and very relevant to what is going on. And I guess you've been talking to a lot of companies, but before we started, you were a CRO for Quora. You worked at Twitter before. You've had a lot of experience in this space. Maybe you can just kind of introduce yourself to our viewers and our listeners.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Vasil. It's really nice to be here. I'm excited. I'm on your second podcast. Um, let's see. I grew up in the UK. I moved to the US just over 20 years ago, and my whole career has been in the tech industry. I spent the first half of my career in product and engineering, and then I was a CEO for a couple of years, and then I spent the last 8 years of my career on the go-to-market side. So I think what sort of makes me unique is that I combine the product with the go-to-market viewpoints on a business. And so what I'm doing today is helping companies think through their go-to-market strategy, which basically comes down to how do I align my product, my sales, and my marketing resources to differentiate myself to my customers. And I think now is like a great time for businesses to refocus around that. We're in a crisis, but there's also a lot of opportunity for companies to really rethink what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, as a ex go-to-market strategist, as an analyst at Gartner, I had to do this during normal times.
Mm,
But right now, I think more than ever, people really have to rethink their go-to-market strategy, their business models, their engagement, their communication, everything. Uh, like you and I had a quick chat the other day about this, and there's going to be a reset button, and a whole bunch of industries are going to be completely re-engineered and reformatted, from banking to food industry to and deliveries to medical and health and education and everything else. So what is your, like, when you're talking right now to other go-to-market people, what is their biggest concern that you're hearing from them? Gesundheit.
yeah, I mean, every exec everywhere is trying to predict the future right
Yeah.
now, and the way they're trying to do that is to gather as much information as possible from other leaders. Nobody knows exactly what's going to happen. No one's really been through this before, but I think the formula that companies can follow is just to start with their customers.
Yeah.
So, you know, 3 months ago, everybody had a decent book of business, but that book of business has changed. Excuse me.
Okay.
That book of business has undoubtedly changed. And so I would look at my book of business and say, how many of my customers are realistically going to be around in 3 months' time? If I've got a lot of startups in my book, do they
Yeah.
have money? Are they gonna survive? And if they're not, I would do everything I can to help them. If that means like letting them get out of a contract, giving them the product for free, anything you can do, free up cash flow for those companies so that they
Yeah.
can take care of their employees. Then I'd look at the next group and say, well, who's been really impacted by this, but in the end, they're going to survive. These are generally going to be bigger companies that have more cash on the balance sheet. Again, I would try and do everything I can to make it easy for them to keep using my product. I'd give it to them for free if I could, or half price or something. Both of these groups of people, they're going to, even if their businesses don't survive, they will survive, and they will be people that you want to do business with in the future. And so I think it's times like this when you really get to know people, and they're going to remember you for behaving in the right way towards them. And
So what are you saying basically, loyalty, I think, is going to play such a big role in the future
yeah,
that people will remember, how you acted and how
yeah,
you did business with them. And no matter where they go, you know, you can re-engage them down the road.
yeah. You always learn the most about someone when things aren't going well. I
That's
was a CEO for 2 years and it didn't go well. But I did everything I could to make the company successful. And if you talk to the investors in that company, I still talk to all of them. They still give me references today, 10 years
right.
later. So I think that's a sort of lesson I've learned is just be a good person. Do the right thing as you can. And then
Well,
going back to your business, so you've got customers that maybe are struggling or won't be around, but then you've also got customers that are probably doing okay.
that's
And I think even within this group, you need to prioritize. You need to figure out, are you a nice to have for them or are you a must have? Because even the companies that are doing okay are cutting back on expenses. Like
yeah,
I saw today, BuzzFeed, which is a pretty big company, is reducing expenses, reducing salaries for a lot of its employees, just to try and keep them employed. So everybody's going through cost cutting. So
yeah,
you've got to really figure out who are your must haves, who are the people who really need you, who view you as a must have,
yeah,
and that's your group that you want to focus your go-to-market efforts on. Um, good news is you already probably have some must-haves. So you want to look at how big is the market there? How many other companies are like this? Um, how would you readjust your value prop? How would you readjust or refine your sales collateral? How would you refine your target customer list? And that's sort of the beginnings of refocusing your efforts around the companies that really need you. And the thing is, in good times, it's very easy to forget that because we raise lots of money, we can target very broadly, and have these big kind of sales and marketing efforts. But in times like this, you got to refocus, and you got to go back to who really needs my product and why.
yeah.
Like, and especially if you're a startup, like people really only buy from you if they have a burning problem. And so that's what you have to refocus around, the fact that you solve that problem and who has that problem and who are the customers that are going to be a good fit for you.
So let me ask you then something specific around this. A lot of, what we do ourselves is, we help companies that have mobile apps, right? And the mobile world is very unique in a way that while it's very, very easy to install an app, it's also very, very easy to, delete an app. And in a time when people have a lot more time to sit in front of their computer, to be on their phone, to be at home, they're not traveling, they're stuck. um, More than ever, even if your business is doing okay, it doesn't mean that you got to stop engaging them. It doesn't mean that you have to forget about them. I think the competition, if anything, is going to be even more so,
Hmm.
because brands realize that you're fighting for that time on the screen, and whether it's your app or somebody else, you need to engage them, and you got to engage them in a smart way. So, yeah, it's in that market is going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be there's definitely an uptick in engagement because one core of the world is staying at home right now.
Yeah,
So absolutely, you see an engagement a lift. You're also going to see engagement declines. Like for sure, people aren't like opening up their travel apps right now and booking trips,
yeah.
but people are opening up games. They're opening up entertainment apps. Anything to pass the time. I'm sure those apps are doing really well. They're probably also opening up retailer apps and shopping more, but they're shopping for essentials. They're not shopping for luxuries. So there's all sorts of ways to kind of slice this. I think a company like yours, because you have a broad base of customers, and you're helping them measure all these things, like you have a really good set of data that you're gathering that can be really insightful for the market as a whole. Because
Yeah,
everybody kind of looks at the news, and the news, the media tends to amplify what's going on, and because it drives more traffic for them. But and then the stock market listens to the media, and then you see industries get really heavily sold off. But you can also provide a unique perspective here, saying, well, okay, here's how consumers are actually responding differently. You know, and maybe you could compare that to how investors have reacted in the stock market, and you probably see some differences. And that, if I'm a company that's in a sector that's where my share price has just plummeted, hearing from someone like Mo Engage and saying, look, actually what we see in your category is the engagement's still there. It's just, it's shifted slightly. Like, being able to provide that kind of information immediately makes you more strategic to your customers. And I think that's really the opportunity now for companies, is to use their data, become a strategic advisor to their existing customers, and also to prospects.
correct.
As
Yeah,
you
I think it's all about the data.
yeah.
We just published a small updated report on what is going on in Asia based on just 10 million users. We're
Hmm.
actually working on another report which analyzes 850 million users across different verticals, across different channels, what works, what doesn't, and so on and so on. And I think people sometimes forget that they have their own data that is very valuable. You can go
Yeah.
and read what's on App Annie and other things and see what industries are doing and not doing. You can open apps and see what brands are doing, not doing. But what we've been talking about internally and with people from Gartner and Forrester is you really need to understand your customers where they are, and make yourself very, very relevant and very personalized. You mentioned several times, I'm probably not going to be shopping for furniture or something else. I'm going to be shopping for essentials. If you open right now the app for Target, well, essentials are not there. They are missing the point of personalization, and their business model, it's like completely, I mean, I opened it and I'm seeing 3 or 4 ads for baby toys. My kids are not babies anymore. Amazon, on the other hand, and I was looking at I posted actually a video of Amazon India. Every single thing that was shown on the screen is personalized. For me, for what I buy, what is important right now: food, cleaning stuff, masks, uh, food for dogs, and everything else.
Hmm.
And it makes you want to click and say, "Yeah, I need this." Oh, why did I not think of that? Rather than literally on Target is furniture and baby toys. And I was like, and I'm logged in. It's not like I wasn't logged in. They didn't know who I am. So yes, I think looking at data and using data to understand better your customers is something that is going to be probably the most important thing going forward for any go-to-market strategy for any company. Otherwise, you're going to completely miss the boat and start throwing money and energy in areas that are unessential.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, especially if you're in a competitive industry like retail, you just mentioned, or ad tech, which you guys are in, like where your customers are getting inundated with pitches from all directions. The way to differentiate in a competitive market is through your data,
Yep,
because your data is the only thing that you have that no one else has.
that's right.
And you have to develop insights from your data that are relevant to your customers, so that they want to buy from you and not from someone else.
Yeah,
And that's why the opportunity now to really just rethink your customer base, who really needs you and why, and make sure that your product surfaces insights that meet that need, and then you're listening to that group of customers, and you're delivering more and more things for them, because then they'll stick with you and they'll want to keep buying from you, whether it's B2C or B2B.
Yeah, yeah, but Ernie, you mentioned earlier, if you're a startup or if you're a company helping others, giving them things for free, giving them discounts, what other business models should go-to-market strategies and startups and others think about? Obviously, startups are the ones that are going to be impacted the
Hmm.
most, even the ones that have probably good funding, right? What else do you see there working? Is there things, do you think that people are going to start exchanging services? Do you think that people are going to start doing work where there is deferred payment or credits? Or, I mean, what do you think is going to happen there? What do you think about?
I think it's sort of depends how long this crisis lasts.
Yeah,
If it's going to be 3 months, or is it going to be 12 months? So because if it's 3 months, most companies can probably weather it if they can um, just constrain all of their costs as much as they can.
yeah,
And trying to grow revenue right now is always going to be hard.
yeah,
But using this as an opportunity to build your pipeline in a very thoughtful and personalized way, that's going to stand you in really good stead for
sure,
when the market picks up again. If it's going to last for 12 months, then I think companies have got to be realistic about, are they going to survive or not? And certainly, in a general downturn, like if you don't have a lot of cash left, you should be looking at M&A, and you should be trying to find a home for your company. I've been in that situation myself before. It's not fun, but it's the realistic thing to do.
sure, yeah,
um and but obviously, like, I don't think we can offer a lot of help to people on that right now. That's sort of you've got to think about who would benefit from your owning your business. And right now that's a difficult thing to think about.
do you when startups are obviously in unique situation, we're always think that we know better and that we are on the cutting edge and we have the best technology. Our ego is a little bit bigger, especially if you're a founder or somebody else.
Hmm.
But how should bigger brands, big enterprises really look at this, when you look at the financial market? um, I mean, now more than ever, they have an opportunity, banks, to really push their mobile. For example, in our case, we're looking at the mobile and digital channel to engage with users and, really convert them. Uh, I was talking to my dad, and I mentioned that in another one, but he drives right now from Santa Rosa to San Francisco to pick up his mail so he can write bills. And I'm like, it's not safe. It takes forever. You're not the best driver anymore, and it just doesn't make sense. You can click, a few clicks. I can help you, and you can make all your bills automatic. I mean, who wants to go to a bank anymore and wait online?
Yeah, I mean, I think for sure this is opportunity for big brands to push their digital strategy, their digital transformation. Because if people can't go out in the physical world, like by definition you have to connect with them digitally.
Yeah,
And so you are seeing that, like, my bank is reminding me every day that I can do business with them through the app. Again, they're missing the personalization point, because I can't remember the last time I went to the bank, but I'm just happy that they are, they're obviously trying to be helpful. And then I'm sure other banks are doing that too. Um, you see the same thing from financial institutions, right? Saying don't sell your money right now in the stock market. I mean, ironically, that's an industry that's made it very easy to do business online,
that's
and
right.
that's part of the reason why the market swings so much. Like, there's no commissions, anyone can jump in and out, so that kind of exacerbates the wild swings. But But I think, yeah, for sure, it's an opportunity to push your digital transformation forward because you have to. That's your customers are going to interact with you digitally. Like you have to, you have to do that. And I think, going back to what you said about founders, like, yeah, I think founders have to be optimistic. I mean, you have to be optimistic slash slightly crazy to start a business in the first place.
Yeah,
So I think you definitely you don't want founders suddenly becoming massive pessimists because
sure.
they need to see the glass half full, and that's why I think like for founders to take a honest look at their business and say who really needs me and why. Like
Yeah,
I'm just gonna do everything I can to like own that segment of the market. I believe that I could double my share in that one segment where I'm really good, and I'm going to put on the back burner my broader expansion plans to like get in. Classic thing is a lot of SaaS companies, they try and go up market into the enterprise because the deal size is bigger. So maybe you put that on hold and you say, but I'm going to really dominate my sort of online channel because I
yeah,
think I can be really strong there. And then flip side, like if you're strong in enterprise, like find the enterprises that are a really good fit for you and like double down there. So I think it's like playing to your strengths.
sure.
And that's the core thing is for it's just be honest about what your strengths are, and then be optimistic. I think founders are, as long as they can be honest, they for sure can be optimistic, and come out of this. They'll come out as better business people. I remember when I was a CEO of a startup, it was a 25-person company, um, and we hit a sort of flat line in revenue, and we couldn't grow, and then I was looking for strategic options with a company and all that kind of stuff. And I remember a guy telling me like, look, doesn't matter if you fail, like you're going to come out as a better business person. And
That's
he
right.
was totally right. Like I learned so much from that experience. So I think if you're a founder and you're going through a tough time, you're going to learn from it. You're going to emerge a better business person. Your business may survive, may not survive, but you will become a better person for it. And if you treat the people around you as well as you can, they will want to work with you again.
Yeah.
And that's what's important.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very small world, especially here in the Bay Area, right? Silicon Valley. People think it's this vast thing, but in the end of the world, people in certain industries, no matter where they are around the world, the top 10, 20, 30, 50 people, we all know each other who we are. Because we blog about things, we tweet about things, maybe sometimes some more than others. And but in the end of the day, it's our reputation, and you're absolutely right. Being being human in the end right now, and understanding and helping others, and learning from the mistakes or the situation, because this wasn't anybody's mistake here. This wasn't somebody, pressed the wrong button here. But
Yeah.
we all can learn. I mean, I had one of my startups, and we took, turn for worse in 2008, when Morgan Stanley, Thomson Reuters, and uh, there was another financial company that all basically said, you know what, we're not expanding, we're not going to go with this, we're going to stay where we are. And the multi-million dollar contracts that we were working on for literally a year just disappeared overnight. And we had to refocus. And actually, what we did back then, we bought a small, tiny company, um, called 123. And we open sourced it, and we gave it away, and we went from 0 to 100,000 sites, which was essentially like Slack, but you hosted yourself, in 6 months. So there are, I think, opportunities in everything, and I love the idea that you're pushing here, that startups need to be optimistic and look at everything from the other side of the coin. You
Hmm.
know, it yes, there are things that are happening, but this also is when I think human and people that are smart come up with new ideas and create new business models and new startups and new things, whether they're for the community. There was reading about this company in France, which is they make sports goods. I think it's called Decathlon or something like
Yeah,
that.
decathlon.
Decathlon, right? And so their masks are being right now open sourced and being used in hospitals. And guess what? People will remember this forever.
Yeah.
And when this all this crisis are gone, they're gonna go back to this company just as in a way to express their gratitude for what they did, for saving lives, and they will
Hmm.
buy more from them. I will. Their
Yeah.
store is down in Emeryville. I'm gonna go and buy more stuff from them
Yeah.
myself as
Yeah.
soon as I can get out of the house.
Yeah. That's a great store, by the way. I've been to the one in Emeryville as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's and it's that's a really successful company in France.
Correct.
But a company like that, they just landed in the US. I bet you they're looking at, maybe we won't expand in the US anymore. We'll just focus on France. So, yeah, every company is having to make these difficult decisions, and I think that's why when if you're selling to another company, you've just got to put yourself in their shoes and say,
Yeah,
do they really need me? If you were working, you mentioned the company when you were working with JP Morgan on a deal that was taking a year. If a deal takes a year to get done, it's not urgent. And so,
yeah,
like it's not, if it's not urgent, they don't really need it. It's a
yeah.
nice to have. So if you're a startup and you're working on some big deal and it's been in your pipeline for 9 months, it's probably not going to close. And in fact, now's a great time just to sort of have an honest conversation with that customer and say, look, we've been doing this for 9 months. Are we going to do it or not?
Yeah,
Because I know that you're slammed, I'm slammed. And and if you're a customer, you're going to appreciate that type of honesty from a vendor.
absolutely.
It always stands out. Like, when you're an executive, when you're a customer, all day long you hear yes, 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 whatever. And then when somebody actually has an opinion and is direct, it always cuts through the noise. I learned that a long time ago from an exec that I worked. I didn't work for him, but he was running a big company that I was working at, and he was just, you could tell he was surrounded by all these people that just sort of nodded their heads. And I remember I just spoke my mind, spoke my opinion, and he immediately goes, "Who are you?" I want to listen to you. So, um, you know, it's uh, it's great time to just be honest and be direct,
Yeah.
and I think you'll be better. You'll be a better business person for it. You'll be better at making decisions.
Yeah, I think that speaking up right now, and really collaborating with others. I think this is the time. I was trying to actually get other companies to collaborate on some of these projects about what works, what doesn't, and for us to all together share information of what we're seeing. Uh, Only a few partners and clients kind of jumped on it.
Hmm.
But in the end of the day, you have to try, because this needs to be a team effort. And, we can all learn from each other, and hopefully people share information just like, you're sharing your thoughts about this, and we can help somebody. Because, like you said, people will remember afterwards.
And
Uh,
it's encouraging that you reached out to a bunch of customers and some of them said, "Yeah, I want to help."
yeah,
You never expect everybody to say yes. And anytime you introduce a new idea to a group of people, there's always going to be the early adopters and then the fast followers, and then
yeah,
you cross the chasm, and then there's the laggards. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, and that's why having focus is important, so that like, well, I'm not that person, that company is really a laggard, or I'm a nice to have for them. Like, I'm just not going to grow my business on
yeah.
them, especially right now when I can't hire more people. I've got to make every dollar sort of go further. It's just a great time to focus. And I think, it's a time to be optimistic as well.
Well, so listen, I think this was a really great conversation, and I think we literally connected a few days ago, and I pinged you and we connected and had a conversation. I want to kind of continue the conversation another time, and maybe in a couple of weeks we do this again and share some more kind of observation of what we're seeing, because things are moving so fast
Yeah.
that traditional go-to-market strategies or any kind of business strategies are sometimes being changed overnight. And we need to be very agile and very flexible, and try a few different things. I think in the end of the day, this is the time to try new things and to try to reinvent the business and who you are, and die trying. Because what else do we have to do? You can't go and open a store somewhere, and right now it's all right here in front of the camera on your phone and everything else. But Arnie, I really, really appreciate your time and your thoughtfulness, and thank you for sharing your ideas. And all the best. Stay safe. Stay at home, and let's do this again soon.
It's been my pleasure, Vasil, and all the best to you too.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.